Name Randy Campbell. Lived on Light Station from day one, I guess, Cape Norman. And then I went to work, went to Northeast Belle. Then I transferred from Northeast to Southwest Belle. Then I worked on cable relieving. I become permanent in 1977, I guess. There's always two to a time on each station. Cable had two, Southwest Belle had two, and Northeast Belle had two keepers. Well, how I come to get into it, I was watching Dad and Grandfather work, and I always said, if I had a job like that, I'd be well pleased. So when I got up old enough to get into it, I done a mechanic course, and that helped me a lot in getting into lighthouse keeping. Well, mostly I followed Dad in his footsteps, watching what he was doing, and if he was out painting, I was out standing up watching. He would say, "Now get out from under the ladder, because anything tall could happen up there." And I said, "Good enough, Dad. Well, get away from the ladder." And two fishermen had their camp set up down in Lighthouse Cove, they call it. So this morning we had wind in from the southwest blowing right in the cove on them. And one of the fishermen jumped out in his boat trying to save her and couldn't get back ashore. So they called up on the CB, the wolf hall, and he said, "Randy, the grandson is out aboard the boat and can't get back." He said, "You can get help first." The only thing they had was CB radio, I said, "Yes, I can call St. Anthony Coast Guard and see if they can send the HARP out, the Coast Guard vessel." So I called St. Anthony and got the HARP on the go. And before the HARP got out anyways, Buddy got back ashore. So they called me up. He said, "He's ashore now." I said, "Well, I had notified the Coast Guard radio now that he's ashore. So they won't be coming out now, not likely, with all this wind on, So I called St. Anthony Coast Guard, and they said, "Good enough, Randy boy, we'll notify the HARP now and get a release." So that was all right. The old fellow called up, he said, "The HARP is not coming now, is she?" I said, "No, she won't be out now, boy." So the wind died down in the afternoon. We got our boat out, the station speedboat, and went over to the cove and got their boat in tow and towed her over to the landing and hoisted her up and got the water out of her. And they had a hole beat in her where she took on the bottom, where she was full of water, heavy too, and got her up and got the motors off her, got them all going again, and got the water drained off them. And where the hole was in her, they want some plastic cement. So I said, "Yes, we got plastic cement here, why?" So they done the hole with plastic cement and got her fixed up. So I said, "She's ready to go back in the water, boys?" She said, "Yeah, we got to put the motors back on her first, boy, and then winch her down over landing." So put her out, no water come in her. So I said, that's a good thing. And he said, "Thanks, Randy boy, for your help." I said, "Oh, yeah, no, I ain't to that, but it's just part of the job."